Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It is once again me, the Deputy of Movie Deputy Podcast, bringing to you an interesting introspective of movie reviews, because I don't just look at the typical gobbledygook that Hollywood looks at. I don't focus on like all of the fancy stuff with how the movie was made. I focus on the story, and I try to bring that to you in a relatable way that helps you decide if these are movies that you want to see or not. And even if they are movies that you've seen, sometimes, or I've been told that my reviews sometimes give people a different perspective and make them actually want to go back and rewatch the movies, or they're like, oh, I never thought about that. And it just literally makes them look about the movies in a different way, both positively and negatively. I've gotten both feedbacks on that. So I kind of like that I make people think, and maybe that's part of it. I used to post all the reviews on moviedeputy.com in 300 words or less with no spoilers. And though I still stay true to the no spoilers, these definitely are 300 words or less. But I do try to keep them in the 5 to 10 minute range. Sometimes I go a little bit over, a little bit under. I'm usually in that range on the movie reviews. And so I hope that you will sit with me today as I bring to you Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. If you're a regular listener, you'll notice for the last couple days that we've been talking about the Indiana Jones movies in the order that they were theatrically released. I always have a hard time with that word. So we're talking about Crystal Skull today, and then tomorrow we are going to be talking about Dial of Destiny. So if you want to hear my thoughts on the other movies, feel free to check them out on our whatever format you're listening on. That's all, folks. Except that's not all. Don't turn it off yet. I just get tongue-tied, twisted, and then I also stutter at times, so I apologize. But with Kingdom of Crystal Skull, I mean, we hadn't seen Indiana Jones for a while. We hadn't seen him since Last Crusade. One of the things that kind of addresses early on in this one is that he's lost some people recently. He's lost his dad, and he's lost Marcus. And so early on, we're just kind of right away, those aren't spoilers. I mean, that's just kind of a giveaway that we're not going to see them in this movie except for just photographs and reminiscing. So that was just kind of, I mean, Last Crusade was so good. It's like I did not know where they were going to go with this one. And when you first see Crystal Skull, and then of course, or if you've ever really studied them, it's like they're supposed to be alien. And like, this is like not even anything with the movie here, but so I really wasn't sure where they were going to go with this one when I first watched it. And unfortunately, this one, it goes kind of off the rails a little bit for typical Indiana Jones type movies. It's not completely off the rails on that one, but the score that I did give it did drop down to a 5.75 on the Movie Deputy scale. Now, the scores on these different movies have ranged from 7.25 all the way down to 4.5. So this is not anywhere near the worst movie by any means, but it's just different. It almost doesn't feel like an Indiana Jones movie at times. There's times it does, but I don't know, it's just the way it plays out. The whole thing is entertaining. Don't get me wrong. It is very entertaining, but it's different. And I'm just going to kind of jump in with that. One of the first things that we see with Indy in this one is that he's suspected of having ties to the KGB and to some other stuff that's going on. And so he gets fired from the university where he has had tenure for all this time. And shortly after that, this kid named Mutt Williams looks him up and tracks him down, and it's like, hey, I'm looking for an old friend of yours named Ox. And so he's like, okay, I recognize that name, but what's going on? So he hooks up with this Mutt kid, and they end up going to a different part of the world, down to Peru, to try to find Ox and try to find clues that lead them to Ox. And along the way, they're gonna find a lot more than they bargained for on this journey. It plays out kind of weird. They end up finding Ox, and then the Russian agents are all over it, and they're trying to get into Ox's brain because I guess Ox stared into the crystal skull and it kind of turned his brain to mush. And so they need an interpreter to try to access Ox. So they have Indy stare into the crystal skull, and his brain just goes a little bit haywire too. But then him and Ox are connected on a whole different level. It just, like I said, it just plays out a little weird. It's almost like they're possessed of sorts, but not really. I mean, we're not talking like demon possession or anything like that. It's just the crystal skulls have had an effect on them. But while all this is going on with these crystal skulls and they're messing with their brains, a familiar face shows up, Marion Ravenwood, and it is revealed that Marion is Mutt's mom. And when Indy and Marion find themselves in kind of a very stressful situation, Marion reveals to Indy that Mutt isn't Mutt. Mutt is Henry Jones III. So that this is actually Indiana Jones's son that he never knew about. And so that just kind of takes this, as you can imagine, it takes the story in a whole different direction because it's like family reunion because you've got Indy, you've got Marion, and now you've got Mutt, who is the different love interests. And I love one of the lines in this is when him and Marion first kind of reconnect and stuff. And she's like, well, I'd imagine there were others or other women. And he's like, yeah, but there was one problem with all of them. They weren't you. And this brings a smile to her face. And you know at this point that he's very much still in love with her too. So along the way, it kind of plays out to be a little bit of a romance, and they're trying to track down the origins of this crystal skull, and they end up in these ruins that just going to take them down to this circle where they see all these beings made of crystal. And there's just so much going on with this that it's not to the point of being little green men, but it almost feels like it's to the point of being little green men, only the movie kind of tries to explain that it has nothing to do with outer space, it has to do with the space between spaces. Now, that may seem a little bit confusing, but I think it's meaning like alternate realities or different dimensions is I think what it's trying to explain or perceive with all of this as it's kind of playing out. Now, mind you, it does end up making some sense. Some of the action scenes are just like, really? Some of them are a little bit gory. As you can imagine, this one also got a guilty rating on the Movie Deputy. Innocent and guilty thing on that. Actually, all of the Indiana Jones movies have gotten guilty ratings by me. I don't see anything wrong with younger audiences watching some of them with some supervision. I mean, I grew up with these before I was the technical 13 age of watching these, and I mean, I'm fine with that, but I know there's a lot of people who are more sensitive, and some of the stuff is, like I said, it's a little bit much for some people to watch. So I try to give that just to try to help protect some of my listening audience, to try to help at least so that you're prepared before you watch these. Like I said, this has to do with the whole Nazca lines, and it kind of goes a bunch of different directions. And then at the very end, there's a reconnection between Indy and Marion, even something extra special going on with Mutt that may feel like it wants to lead somewhere else. There's actually high hopes of that. So maybe we'll be able to see more of that in Dial of Destiny. I know the answers, but I'm not giving them away. I guess you're just going to have to wait and see. If you haven't watched this one in a long time, you might want to rewatch it. Like I said, there's a lot of references in Dial of Destiny to the other 4 movies. So before you watch Dial of Destiny, I highly recommend watching the other ones, or at least just refreshing, like even just going back and watching the trailers on them or something, just to kind of help prepare your brain for where the next one's going to take you, because the next one you go... If you think you're on a journey with, like, the Last Crusade, I mean, it took us on such a great journey, like Raiders did too. And then with Kingdom of Crystal Skull, I mean, we're literally going beyond our understanding with this one. And so where we're going to go with the next one, it just waits to be seen. And so, like I said, these are imaginative, they're fun movies. Be sure to check out our podcast that is going to be going up and on kind of our synopsis of all 5 of the movies. That one you can find on our regular Movie Deputy channel. I'm just really looking forward to, just kind of sharing all of these with you guys. I'm hoping you're enjoying them too. If you haven't seen the movies, check them out. If you have, I hope you enjoy the information I bring. I always welcome feedback. So if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on those notifications. If not, you know where the off button is. It's plain and simple. But I'm having a lot of fun bringing these to you. I'm hoping you're having a lot of fun listening to them. And I will talk to you soon. Bye!